You think you know me.
Today on Security VIP, we feature the CEO of U.S. Virtual Guard, Daniel Greenberg. Get ready for nothing but the truth.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Security VIP podcast. It's your home for nothing but the truth. As always, I'm your host, Taylor May. And on today's episode, I have an exciting guest. He's the CEO of U.S. Virtual Guard, Mr. Daniel Greenberg. Daniel, welcome to SVIP, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Man, you are up in the Northeast, up in the New York area. I've been to New York multiple times, of course. But a funny fact, when I first met my wife, man, we had this crazy idea to go see the ball drop. I forgot what year it was, man. But obviously Times Square, obviously packed and everything. But for whatever that year was, man, it was probably 8 or 9 degrees. And people line up at like crack of dawn all the way till the clock hits midnight. And we didn't get there at the crack of dawn, but we got there early afternoon. And man, I haven't froze my ass off in so long, just standing in line. But I was with my girlfriend at the time,
Aha.
where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna suck it up and deal with this bullshit 8 degree weather, and it was good. And here we are, 8 years later, married,
And you got to hold it in for about 8 hours. There's nowhere to
dude.
go,
Yeah, and
right?
then people that wear diapers, man, on the
Yeah,
strip.
it's a
It's
little crazy.
just,
I did it when I was a teenager, once or
yeah.
twice, and that was the end of
I was like,
it.
next time we'll just get a rooftop bar, VIP pass, and we'll just watch the ball drop from
Yeah,
there. So,
that's it.
well, cool, man. Appreciate you spending some time. Would love to learn more about yourself first, before for
Okay.
my audience, then we'll dive in obviously the company in which I'll specialize in. But just tell the listeners about yourself.
So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been involved in many different businesses over the years. Most of them involve tech, and also real estate investment. So the two industries that I basically was most involved in my whole life came to a head with this U.S. Virtual Guard venture. Insofar as we're protecting buildings around the country, so I understand real estate, what the needs are of real estate owners. And I also understand the tech that's involved because in today's day and age, you have to stay ahead of the tech. And it's not just AI. Everyone thinks AI is the answer to every single problem in the world, which we all know we're all kind of being educated a little bit now that it's not as all-encompassing as we all thought it was going to be, right? We all thought AI was going to, replace everything. Lawyers were telling their children not to become lawyers, and accountants were telling their children not to become accountants. Now we're seeing, okay, it's not exactly true. It's not really going to replace humans. You still need humans to oversee
100%.
tasks. Security is no different. There's a big hype 3 years ago, AI, you're not going to need any more people to watch cameras. You're not going to need any more people to watch, buildings. And people realize now that AI has its limitations. And I saw through the eyes of a business person coming into this security industry, wondering why there was no tech out there that accommodated for the existing technologies. Everyone's always thinking about the future. So I came up with an idea to utilize the existing technologies and still be able to produce a security company out of a command center that is very, very, very unique. And my ability to do that came again from being able to understand the tech and know how to engineer and architect computer-driven operations and marry that to my knowledge of building security. That's how I ended up here.
What do you think of the industry so far, man? You enjoying it? Are you hating it?
Yeah, I love it. Everyone
Yeah.
is super smart, right?
Yeah.
My favorite thing is to geek out with the other guys, about all the tech because there really is a lot of cutting edge technology that's being applied today. And when you speak to smart people about how to utilize it, you get some really good ideas.
Right.
Um, and that at the same time, that's also a challenge, I will say, in the security industry because you get a lot of people who are not educated and they think that what they read in the advertisements is all true,
Yeah.
right? Which is a general problem with advertisements. People say they overpromise, like, oh, we are doing X, Y, and Z. And you find that they really can't do X, Y, and Z, or they can, but it's triple the price what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
So it's very important to me throughout all the businesses I was ever in to deliver a product for a value to the customer. It's the only way to stay in business, right? to have insane customer service. That's like another thing that we concentrate on through every type of business iteration I've been involved with. Keeping the customers happy is really, again, the key to everything. Long-term relationships is a big deal, especially in this business, especially because it's security. People don't want to bounce around security companies. If they're leaving their current security company, it's a big deal because maybe they were
Yep.
with them for 10 years. So you have to gain their trust, and it's a slow sales process. The time horizon to close a customer, this is not, selling, packaged mortgages or real estate. This is not a quick sale environment.
Right.
This is a long-term relationship building environment. But once you're in with the company, you're their security company, you do a good job, you get a good run out of the customers. So we're really digging our heels in and developing those relationships.
Transparency and accountability go a long way, my friend. They go a very long way in this
Yeah,
space.
yeah, yeah. Yossi, the principal of the company, always tells me I'm a little bit too honest sometimes when I tell people, exactly the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe like leave a few parts out of the reality of the situation of how bad it really is. But then I always find that in the end, telling everything exactly the way it is up front from the beginning generally gets you way further than holding things back till after the relationship's ongoing,
Yep.
and then customers find out you can't do what you said you could do.
1000%, man. And I couldn't agree more. It's funny, man. I guess we go into the company now. I think I told you and Rosie this earlier a couple months ago. I started my career for a company called Provigil,
Yes.
selling mobile surveillance trailers to construction sites and GCs and helping prevent, copper steel lumber from walking off the job site. And obviously Provigil has a SOC and monitoring station in San Antonio, and they also have
Okay.
another one outside the country. But to see like the evolution of live monitoring and video agents and GSOCs and kind of that evolution in the last 13 years of my experience in the industry, I guess walk me through the value proposition of US Virtual Guard and how you all kind of like evolving from the monitoring the GSOC to making things a lot more autonomous, seamless, maybe leveraging AI agents embedded with that. Maybe walk me through the value prop of the company.
So, although we do utilize AI, we don't utilize AI the way the rest of the industry utilizes it. We do not use AI to watch our properties, as opposed to pretty much almost all of our competition, with the exception of very few that use human verification of AI alerts.
Yeah.
That's not our business. Our guards are watching the cameras live, and we can get into how that works with the technology and the rotations and so forth. But our value proposition is that if you want to actually replace what's the word I'm looking for? To simulate a live guard on premises, AI can't help you. AI can only see what it could see, and when most people don't, people who understand the tech understand this. People who don't understand the tech, it's very hard to explain that. When you have, especially in an urban environment, that, by the way, that's where we thrive. We thrive in high traffic urban environments. If you have oil fields out in Texas and you're just looking for the random coyote coming, AI does a great job. Or
Right.
if you are worried about kids or terrorists or whatever it is coming to your oil field in the middle of nowhere, or your parking lot in the middle of nowhere where there's not supposed to be any traffic, or abandoned buildings in the middle of nowhere, AI can do a great job, right? There's no question. There's no need to have a live guard watching in that case. But if you have a busy city street, downtown Dallas, we're working with some of the biggest buildings in Dallas right now. If you work with downtown Connecticut, if you Hartford, Connecticut, downtown Manhattan, Miami, all over Los Angeles, right? Which is such a big city, right?
Yep.
Because it's not just the downtown. There's other areas that have hugely high traffic. AI can't help you on a street. You have 5 or 10,000 people walking by. It can't parse out, especially in today's day and age, where you can't tell the difference between a billionaire and a bum walking down the street or stopping on the side of your building to smoke a cigarette. If I mean, put a simple perspective. If Elon Musk stopped on the side of my building and started, like, I don't know, hanging out and like smoking a cigarette, I'd probably call the cops. If it was AI, I would just turn on the camera and he looks like a bum, basically, right? Wears his
Yeah.
jeans and his little cowboy boots and whatever. You don't know whatever. Uh, a human being could tell what's happening, could watch the scene, could understand what's happening and make an assessment. I always like to tell our customers what they're paying us for is security, obviously, but mainly what they're paying us for is not to alert them. In other words, if someone has a regular AI system and it's hooked up to a beautiful little app and they have 1,500 notifications an hour, they're going to swipe left, turn off the
Yep.
notifications, and that's going to be the end of the security. Then the security is reduced to forensic usage for the police after something happens. And we all know how well that works. If you give the police a picture of the guy that spray painted your building, nothing's ever going to happen, right? If you catch the guy in the middle of the act and your response time is quick enough, which ours is, where we could get the cops to come down immediately, faster than someone who's watching an AI camera, because the AI camera is going to use a digital fence and cut off most of the street and all of the road. So you're not
Yeah.
going to get anything from the road because there's a million cars passing by on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And you're not even going to take the whole street. You're maybe going to take 2 inches in front of the building. So the only alerts you're going to get are from the 2 inches in front of the building. You're not going to see anything that happens outside of those 2 inches unless you happen to be looking at it.
Right.
So US Virtual Guard has trained security professionals watching the cameras live. They see the entire field of vision. They're going to see the guy across the street with his bag of spray paint. They're going to see the guy put his mask on. They're going to see the guy do all these things before he comes even near the building. We're using the horn for a talk down and we're calling the cops sometimes a couple of minutes before AI would even catch the guy.
Mm.
Right. And we have video footage of this. We have real live cases where we've caught things that there's no way AI would have been there in time to call the cops and get the guy off the property, arrested, or whatever it is. Right. So that's where we shine. We also provide a service where we could see everything that's going on, whether it's an approved action or a not approved action. Some people want us to see for quality of life
Mm.
things like we watch open air shopping malls that have a lot of outdoor seating, for instance, right in Florida. And they obviously there's a million people sitting on the benches all day, but they don't want people sleeping. They don't want people doing drugs, right? So we watch out for other types of things. And again, very hard to do that with AI. There's still no AI that could find a person in a crowd of 100 people sleeping on a bench to send over a security guard, right? There's no way that could work. But a human can scan a field of vision and find the person that's sleeping, call the security guard at a station and say, hey, you have to get this guy off the bench. And that's where we shine. That's the value add.
I mean, I'm a huge advocate for human intervention and a human being the ultimate decision maker for any kind of alert or, alarm that might pop off. I guess my question there is obviously when you have humans in this process, what has been like the turnover or attrition rate or retention rate of these operators and monitoring at your team? Like, has it been high? Has it been low? You've been able to retain and like get people excited
Sure.
about their job?
Yeah. Well, okay. So one of the things we did when we were figuring out where we were going to put the command center, one thing we knew from the very beginning, and when we saw again coming from outside of the
Yeah.
security business, and then coming all of a sudden diving into it, looking what all the competition is doing, where they basically most of them have a disconnected group of remote workers in foreign countries. Whether or
Yep.
not they have offices where they have a few hundred people, but they'll have one country they have a few hundred people, another country they have a few hundred people. And there is some value in the redundancy, but that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because it's very hard to get, let's call it Asian labor rates in one country and find enough people who are dedicated to the job to work an 8 or 12-hour shift staring at a screen. It's very hard. Yeah, 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 100%. That's why we had a few countries we boiled it down to, and we ended up with deciding on South Africa, specifically Johannesburg. And the main reason why we chose that, first of all, find me another Asian country or Asian labor rate country that has English as a first language. There
Well,
isn't.
that was my point there, Daniel, because
Right.
when I worked at Provigil, man, I mean, monitor office in San Antonio, obviously domestic time, but
Right.
when it's nighttime, what do? They outsource it to India. And that was my biggest hiccup at Provigil is,
Yeah.
someone is monitoring a construction site and they get a call that is not, fluent in the English
Correct.
language. The perception, from that company is immediately thrown off. I'm not saying it's a huge deal breaker, but
Correct.
I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but that's honestly
No,
what
no,
happened all the time, man,
it,
is,
it
they
is
get
it,
that phone call from outside the
it,
country.
it's not racism. It's practical. If you're
Yeah,
a police officer in Dallas and you get a guy you can't understand him, how are you supposed to send a cop? Sending a cop car down is not for free. It costs the municipality money. They can't
100%.
just send someone down. There's actually rules and laws about when you call emergency services, whether it's 911 or the local municipality, the local precinct, the local sheriff, whatever it might be. You have to have a certain amount of information available at your fingertips. You have to be able to say, and I know the TMA is working on this all the time to make the different levels of reporting to the 911, the highest levels that I am actively watching the scene live, which is what we can say. Most other companies can't say that, right? That's number one. So we're physically able to do that. But more importantly, because English is a first language in South Africa, so that was mitigated. In fact, they got the cool little accents, which everyone kind of likes.
I know people actually like that. Yeah.
But more importantly, we lucked out because it's not only English as a first language, but South Africa, for better or for worse, Johannesburg in particular, has had a culture of security operation centers going back 50, 60 years. They have an industry, it's not a cottage industry there like it is in the United States. It's a national industry to the extent that it's a licensed certificate um, trade, just like an electrician has to have, like in the States, electrician, plumber, a fire alarms dealer, for instance, an alarm installer. But there is no license, for instance, for a security video operator,
Mm.
right? Specifically. And in South Africa, there's an actual government license where they have to go through extensive training and testing and ongoing continuing education credits throughout their career to maintain a certain level of security performance and security education. So they're trained how to watch TVs for security specifically. Separately, because they are licensed trained professionals, they go through background checks, both personal and professional. So we know who they are, we know what their finances are, we know that they're in good shape financially, we know that they don't have any record. Most of them are licensed firearms carriers, so that also raises the level of citizen, we'll call it, right? So
Yeah.
we all know in the States, if you carry a firearm, probably you're a legitimate citizen, so forth. You're a legitimate person. You can't get into trouble, right? Or they take away
Yeah.
your gun license. Same in every country. So we know who these people are. They're trained. Plus, once they come to U.S. Virtual Guard, they go through an extensive 30-day full paid training course of operation before they sit live in front of a computer. And then there's ongoing training. There's weekly training sessions. And the as far as attrition, as far as turnover of the employees, we have had, I guess, in that respect, South Africa has been very lucky for us. We have some people who are our first hires who are still with us for
Nice.
years already. And we've never had a problem as we scale, adding 10, 15, 20 people in a couple of weeks' time. We have loads of resumes of people ready to go, and we are constantly ahead of the game in terms of our pods inside the command center. We're always a pod or two ahead, which is always about 10 or 12, excuse me, 10 or 12 employees ahead, ready for the next wave of 500 or 1,000 cameras that we got to watch. We're always ahead of the game. So
How many cameras can one single operator monitor at a time? What's the ratio there on cameras per head?
So
And
that's a
then,
good question. That's a great question. Glad you asked. So it depends on the site. So we have our standard sites, which are just called standard security. An operator could watch on the rotations up to about 200 cameras.
okay.
Okay. And that's on a four screen. These are massive screens. These are 43.5-inch monitors, right? So there's only 9 cameras on a screen. So each screen itself is almost a full 12 by 12, right?
Mm.
It's like 11 by 10 and a half or something. It's a big screen. And those rotations work. So you have 36 cameras and there's 6 rotations. So we go through about 180 to 210 cameras. And we work generally on a 15-second rotation. And this is not a science that we came up with by ourselves. These are white papers written by the military of what the definition of live view, of true live view actually is. Meaning to say that people think that watching live, like when you hire a security guard to sit in your building and look at a a bank of screens on behind his security desk, that's actually considered inefficient and not capable of doing proper security because people cannot watch one screen for hours at a time,
Right.
partially because they get eye strain. Your brain starts to play tricks on you. The garbage pail starts to move because you're staring at the same thing constantly. So you need the rotation. You
Hmm.
actually have to look away from the screen at some point for a second or two to keep your vision. We actually have a side screen where we put our pinned events. So when a situation is unfolding and we want to stop the rotation, we could pin a site and that site's over to the left and they could see that screen from a little further away. It actually helps their eye strain to see some of the cameras from slightly further away than the 3 feet that the regular cameras are in. And we maintain their focus by doing that. So we're really able to have a very good coverage of all of the sites
Yeah.
minute by minute. Now, we have what we call VIP stations, and we also have special situation stations. We watch many schools, synagogues, churches, mosques, which we watch like specific times of the day very carefully. Like if you have like a preschool and you have pickup and drop off times, specifically, like we'll turn down that will go on a station where those rotations will either be 30-second rotations where we're watching for longer periods of time and only flipping between two sets of cameras. So it depends on the severity of the situation for what we're watching for and the SOP for each site. Every site has their own protocol. We don't have one cookie cutter
Yeah.
program for every single building. A 50-story office tower is going to be very different than a 20-story multifamily residential, and that's going to be very
Right.
different than a 3-story school. Everyone has their own SOP. Everyone discusses with the director of security in the command center uh, prior to going live, part of the onboarding process, and discusses what they are looking for specifically on each property.
I've spoken with a lot of casino directors and VPs, and one of the traits that they look for is gamers or coders when they put people in their SOC because they're used to making that kind of split-second decision if someone
Yeah,
is has a sleight of hand on a casino table, manipulating cards or chips,
right.
etc. So I've always found that interesting, just in the casino side of how they kind of recruit and retain talent in the SOC. I guess Daniel, as you guys continue to scale, man, which obviously I know revenue is always the end goal for any company. I'm a revenue guy myself. Do you feel like if there's a weakness in your company, what is that today? I always like to ask this question, like any kind of flaw or like improvement area where you guys are kind of laser focused on getting over for
Well,
2026.
our operation is pretty tight. Our biggest problem, I'll tell you the truth, is figuring out how to educate the people of exactly what we do and how it's so different than what everyone else does.
Yeah,
Most people, if you go and you get a person who has no real understanding of how tech works, a building manager, a guy might manage 20 buildings, but he's not a tech guy, right? He's a
right.
smart guy, he knows accounting, he knows whatever, but he's not a tech guy. And he doesn't understand, okay, I have 25 cameras, right, in my office building. And you're going to charge me whatever it is, $3,000, 4,000. Yeah, of course, I'm gonna be able to fire a guard and I'm going to be able to save a lot of money. But I got this ad in my email that says they could do all 25 cameras for $600. So,
Yeah,
and by the way, my daughter told me, this is what the guy, the 50-year-old guy, my 13-year-old daughter said, oh, why can't a computer just do that? Right?
yeah,
Why do you need people? So the biggest obstacle we have is figuring out how to educate people that really is not the same service. It's apples and bowling balls. It's not even apples and oranges.
yeah.
And we haven't cracked that part of it yet. So literally right now we're grassroots guerrilla marketing. We're going account by account, building those relationships and educating the people one by one. It's a slower process. We haven't figured out how to mass market this. We originally thought, Yossi and I sat down and 3 years ago, we said, oh, we're going to build an app. We're going to send it out to 1 million people and 100,000 people are going to take it, press a button, and we're going to be watching their cameras. So that was a bit of a fantastical idea, which it took a little while to abandon. It took us about a year to figure out, okay, that's really not going to work. There's too much involved with the onboarding process. You have to deal with people's security. When you deal with cameras, especially in the larger buildings, there's a security personnel that you have to
Yep.
deal with. There's the IT personnel. There's the low voltage installer personnel. Then there's the building manager, and then maybe there's also the janitor who doesn't want to lift a finger. Maybe you need his help to reboot the MVR. There's a lot of little pieces involved. Things building managers never had to think about, like rebooting the MVR. So because the
Right.
ISP went out, and you have to press a button. Like you have to be able to deal with people on a people basis. It is, and I don't know how the companies with all AI, I don't know how they do it because
Yep.
there's always tech problems. ISPs go down in every state in the country. I don't care if you're in Manhattan, if you're in Brooklyn. We make fun of Johannesburg. Their internet goes down quite often. We have triple, actually quadruple backup internet. We have two fiber lines underground,
Nice.
plus a satellite dish, plus we have backup cellular. We have backup generators in the building off the grid. Plus, we have our own generator, our own 50-gallon generator on our own balconies. So we have massive backup. But here we are in Brooklyn, and my internet goes down at least once a week. I'm out for an hour or two. Spectrum, like so, it just happens. And then what
Yeah.
has to happen is very often, especially if you have a large system like a Genetec system or a complicated milestone system, let's say, you have to maybe do a reboot on the server. And it's just, something they never had to do before because no one was ever watching the cameras.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Is-
so this is like a new process to educate people. And it's been an uphill battle, mass educating people. You read these articles on IPVM and SIA and all these, and they have great articles about things, but some of them are a bit misleading. And I can't wait to start writing my own articles, educating people about the proper
Well,
science.
hey, bro, you can write an article anytime for
Yeah,
SVIP and we'll publish it,
yeah, okay.
as much as you
We're
want.
working on that
So,
right now, actually.
any content ideas, any
Okay.
leadership ideas, trends, whatever, man, we'll promote. Because you're right, dude. Because what you see in the market is not necessarily always true. Just like what I tell people at trade shows, man, you get the perfect canned demo and a perfect sales pitch, but nothing is ground truth, nothing is practicality, nothing is real world. So those are the kind of conversations that we're trying to solve, obviously,
There,
with the
there's
guys.
even a problem with the big leaders of the industry. We just got back from Barnes Buchanan
Hmm.
about a month ago, and we were at Raymond James a few months before that, and we were talking without getting into specific names because we met with some very high level people there, leaders of the security industry, that names that everyone in the security industry knows,
Yep.
including
Yep.
yourself. But they're very nice people. We become friends, so I'll leave their names out of this podcast. Very nice guys. These guys are the back end for the entire monitoring industry. Millions and millions of accounts that they're watching, either for fire, alarm, video, so on and so forth. And we ventured into these conferences as a newish company. These guys are all around 30 years, right?
Right.
They have it
Right.
all figured out. They know
Right.
every part of the business. They know how to farm out the alarm to one place and how to farm out the fire to another place and how to farm out the video. And these guys have it all figured out. These guys are not, I mean, they work hard. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're on easy street, and they deal in swaths of accounts. They
Right.
take over 5,000 cameras, 50,000 cameras at a time, like no problem.
Yeah.
When we started explaining to them about this live view command center, it took some we booked, like, you book a 15-minute meeting at these conferences. We ended up talking to some of these guys for hours because they didn't understand it, and they're trying to figure out, like, how come they didn't think of it. And then usually there's like one guy in the group who's a little more tech savvy and said, "Oh, we thought of it, but it's probably about 3 years and $10 million to set it up. So we never, we thought about it. Sure, we thought about doing a lot of things, but to set up a live view station as we have it involves not just computers and office space or a building and triple internet and triple backup power. Involves a technology that nobody has. Like it's I kind of touched on in the very beginning. The entire security industry is with all the AI advertisements. Everyone wants to think that they're space age, like they're the Elon Musk of security. Every single security system still today revolves around 1970s technology. Everything is still on Linux. Everything is still an RJ11. Can you imagine the entire security for the entire world, including the Pentagon, revolves and relies on a tiny little
Mm-hmm.
plastic piece that clips, which we all know if you sneeze the wrong way, breaks. And you have 75,000 of these clips. You have to find the one that's not working to figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
The technology is crazy, right?
yeah.
How old and archaic it is. So this whole AI thing kind of fooled everyone. Like, okay, we're going to do everything so differently. But at the end of the day, all their AI cameras still work on this stupid little RJ11. It's still not a high tech business.
Yeah.
So I came from kind of like, let's call it a layman outside of the security industry. I say, wait a second, why is everyone building their security platforms around technology that it's not proving yet, this AI technology? And it doesn't, we saw right away when we jumped in that this stuff doesn't work. When people were telling us that, oh, gun detection, gun detection. But everyone knows if you put a sock over the end of the gun, there's no gun detection. If it's in the pocket, there's no gun detection. The only way you can have real gun detection is with human surveillance. Yes, if a guy has a gun out in the middle, straight in the camera, of course it could detect it, but it could also detect my pen. So
Yeah.
that doesn't help. If I put the pen in my pocket, it doesn't know if it's a gun or a pen. That's just the way the computers work. So at the end of the day, we saw a problem. You have all of these camera systems, Genetec, Milestone, DW, Hikvision, Unify, Uniview, Eagle Eye, whatever the system is. And anyone who owns multiple buildings knows that when you buy a building, you might check the roof, you might check the boiler. Nobody checks what camera system's in the
Of
building
course
before
not.
they
Yeah.
purchase a $50 million building in downtown Dallas. No one's looking at the camera
Yeah.
system. They see cameras, they ask them, cameras are working, good.
Yep.
And
That's all I
they're
yep.
and they're not about to go put in another $250,000 system. You're not going to put in another 98, milestone cameras with all the licenses and so forth. Sorry, let me shut that off. But
No, you're right. I mean, it's always an afterthought until
it's
a
always an afterthought
situation happens.
until a situation happens, and then at the end of the day, what ends up happening is they start scurrying and say, "Oh, let's put in a bunch of AI," and it doesn't really work. So what ends up
Right.
happening is you have 20 buildings with 20 different camera systems, and the management company that sits somewhere in an office building on Fifth Avenue, Manhattan, some trust, has no visibility of any of their buildings. If a manager says I have a problem, they have to go and find the DW viewer, the Milestone viewer, the Genetec viewer, and go and turn on the cameras and look and go back and forth. Coming from the tech background, I didn't see any obstacle technically why you shouldn't be able to view every camera system through port forwarding, through general simple technologies, all under one roof, all in one command center, all on one station. So we developed patent pending technology called TrueLive. It's actually called TrueLive.ai. So it uses the use of AI within the technology. But what we are able to do is we are able to view any camera system from anywhere in the country direct to our command center, direct to our stations, and view all of those cameras and all of these different systems on one station and manipulate to see which cameras we want to see on which rotation, on which view. We have stations that are all construction sites, regardless of their NVR. We have stations which are all multifamily residential, regardless of their NVR. We have stations which are all office towers, regardless of their NVR. And the reason why that's so important is for scalability. If you're going to be a live view company,
Yeah.
if you want to scale and have 10,000 customers and 100,000 cameras, which for us would be, that's a good goal for us,
It's the goal, baby. Yeah.
right? There's no way to do that with a bunch of DW viewers, and there's no way to do that with a bunch of milestone viewers. You need I don't know to watch. You need 10,000 employees to watch 100,000 cameras.
Yeah.
Would be impossible. So we developed this software that, through a series of technological uh, creations, essentially, we are able to port all of the cameras into one central location through this technology and be able to scale and take on thousands of cameras relatively quickly with a live view situation, not just with human verification of AI alerts.
Well, that's impressive. I mean that sounds awesome. I mean, I guess I would imagine you're going to keep that in house. The go to market is to, can you sell that direct to
We're
consumer, or do
we're,
you want
we're
to license it? Do you want to?
Yes, the idea is to license it. We haven't figured out if right now we're utilizing the technology to fuel our monitoring business, and we're just growing
Yeah,
our monitoring business. Yes, of course, on the horizon, we're going to work on a multi-tenancy program and be able to license out the technology to building owners who don't want our monitoring services. They just want the visibility. We've
yeah,
spoken to building owners who want for cosmetic reasons. They want in their lobby. They want rotations
yeah,
of all their
yeah. Of
buildings
course,
showing, live
perception. Yeah,
perception. A
yeah.
lot of the big malls. We spoke to a company that runs a lot of malls around the country, and they have these huge showrooms where all the retailers come and they try to get into the mall because of these high-end malls, right? They try to sell the mall, hey, I want to put a retail shop in 20 of your malls and so forth. So these massive showrooms want to show off the properties live. They want to put a massive 20 screen TV, wall showing all of their properties, which they currently can't do really. They'd have to say it'd be $1 million setup, literally. There's companies out there, again, I won't mention which one, that'll do it for, I think the number it comes at, it's about 100,000 for every 150 cameras,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
I didn't tell you the punchline to the whole thing. We need no equipment on site
yeah,
to do this.
yeah.
All of this is without sending you anything in the mail. It's without you having to plug in anything new. If you have the modern technology all plugged into the internet, we need your IT guy for about 2 hours, and we could be watching 500 cameras live same morning.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I really I mean that's your competitive advantage right there for all the other
There
guys
you
out there.
go.
That's the value prop, man. Last question, man. I
Sure.
guess two questions. I mean, I know you come from, I've been saying this for years, man. Like innovation isn't happening from within the industry anymore. It's coming from outside the industry.
Right.
I always tell people like, look, innovation's coming from the technology guys in Silicon Valley to outside players that just are disrupting the game. I guess from your perspective, man, coming from outside the industry, did you bootstrap this company? Did you raise the capital? Did you and have any fundraising or what? I mean, what excited you the most about, I guess, getting involved in this industry, man? I'm just
Uh,
curious.
it's uh, it's just Yossi, myself, and our own vision
Yeah,
is how we built this company. We have no investors, we have no
good for
backers.
you. Yeah,
We always joke. We have our board of directors. Yossi's got his 5 daughters, all under the age of 5. That's our
there
board
you
of
go.
that's our board
That's
of
that's a
directors.
strong board right there,
Only
man.
ones, only ones we take opinion from.
Yeah, rightfully so. I love that.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man. Good,
yeah.
good for you, man. Um, so my last question, Daniel, I say this all the time, you've been answering the whole episode, but like I usually ask a 60-second hot seat question about why
Okay,
the company
sure.
or why the vendor, so you've pretty much already hinted on it, but I guess in 60 seconds, if I'm someone brand new to US Virtual Guard, what about the company would I need to know? Why would I invest? Why would I go with you guys versus someone else? Let's hear it.
In one sentence, we are, and I'll make the statement, and if anyone is listening to this podcast and can refute me, you could call, ask Taylor for my cell phone, and I'll gladly have a discussion with you. We are the only true live video monitoring company offering the services we do in the United States currently. That's it. There is no one else doing it. And we just haven't been able to get the word out wide enough yet for people to really know it. And like I said, it's because of a lot of the advertising. Again, I'm not going to name names, but some of our closest competitors, who, by the way, we're very friendly with all of our competitors.
Yeah.
We have great relationships. We see them at all the trade shows. We do dinner and drinks and the whole thing. And we joke about it with the CEOs. We have talk about how their salesmen are constantly telling everyone, sure, we're watching live. Of course, we watch live. And the CEO's like, yeah, we don't watch live. we,
Yeah.
we do human verification of AI alerts. But
Yeah.
that's the way the sale goes. And that's the way, if you look at their advertising, they word it kind of sharply. So you can't really, say that they're saying 100% live. But when you come down to brass tacks, we're the only company that has guards watching the cameras 24/7 as a third party command center. Obviously, there are buildings that have their own command centers, and obviously there are buildings, groups of buildings that have a command center, but that's a private industry, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's a private operation. It's not available to the public, right? You have in New York City some of the big, massive real estate developers get when you get real, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, High level status,
Yeah.
in New York. I'm sure you have something like this in Dallas, where the NYPD will give you a couple of seats in their command center for your buildings. Like Rockefeller Center has a couple of seats in the NYPD command center. Okay, but that's a
Right.
special situation. Your average
Right.
building owner does not get a couple of seats in the NYPD command
Sure. Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
So we're the only ones. You could have a building, a 4-story walk-up multifamily residential, and you could afford to have your own private concierge where you could pick up the phone and speak to the director of operations or the head of security 24 hours a day about your property, about any of the issues you have. That in and of itself is a good enough reason, I would say, if I would tell an investor, because we're the only ones, we just haven't gotten the word out why yet. And it's an incredibly profitable business. I mean, that's forgetting like let's just forget about that. Just put in perspective as well, in South Africa, on average, for our controllers, our lowest paid tier employees are on average over 4 times minimum wage. So, for
Mm.
instance, in New York, that would be kind of like the equivalent of $70 an hour, and that's our lowest level guy,
Yeah.
right? It goes way up from there. So
Right.
we're paying a really good wage, and with that high wage, and we're able to do that only because it's South Africa. You couldn't pay $70 an hour in New York and
Mm.
run a profitable business, a profitable command center, because you need too many people. You need hundreds of people at the end of the day. We're almost at 100 people in South Africa at this point, right? So that would be an impossibility at $70 an hour. But
Yeah.
we're able to do that there. Our employees are all really, really well paid. They live really well. Thank God. I'm happy for that. They're a very diverse group of employees. And because we're in South Africa, we're able to keep the bottom line extremely, extremely fat. That's the
Hey,
bottom line.
hey, more power to you, man.
Yeah.
I love the what you said in the beginning. That's gonna make a great soundbite and a great hook for the intro and promotion of this episode. And honestly, man, if we can help promote you guys, get the word out, market you guys
Sure.
here at SVIP, man, we're a platform to do that,
Okay,
So
I'm gonna start sending you some articles.
do
I'm
it, man.
absolutely
Do
gonna
it.
do that
We'll
on
start
the evil of AI.
I tell people all the time, man, like if you want us to promote and blast you guys, we're essentially just putting gasoline on the fire when it comes to
Okay.
marketing, for everything we do. Obviously, you know about the experience center and stuff that we're building. So
Yeah.
that's the whole purpose of, disrupting
Okay.
trade shows. So
Yes. Disrupting
Daniel,
the security industry.
that's right, man. That's right. If more people want to learn more about US Virtual Guard, man, what's the best place to do that?
You could call me. I have no problem. I'll put my cell phone on the podcast, three four
There,
seven 200 9682. I work pretty much any hour of the day. I'm sitting at my desk or out on sales calls. I'm always answering my phone. You could check us out at usvirtualguard.com. We have a very nice website. At US Virtual Guard on Instagram. We have some really cool videos there. Caught a lot of attention on Instagram. So we have some of them with hundreds of thousands of views, from actual real footage from our buildings and how we caught the criminals. LinkedIn, Facebook, um, and that's the whole story.
well, there you go, man. You're gonna have all these sales guys not blowing up your phone for jobs or trying to sell you some shit. No,
And I'll tell you, if anyone if we have serious customers who want to do a virtual tour of if they want to hop on a plane and get to South Africa, that's possible also. But if they want to do a virtual tour of the command center, I can make that happen as well.
awesome, Daniel. It was a pleasure, man, to have you on the episode, and I really appreciate the time today, my friend.
Okay. You have a wonderful afternoon.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Daniel Greenberg, the CEO of US Virtual Guard. Make sure to go connect with him if you're learning more about what they provide. Awesome, awesome episode. Awesome to see learn more about his company and the special offerings they are offering for this industry. And honestly, guys and girls, I mean, being disruptive is what I'm all about. And it sounds like US Virtual Guard is disrupting something that's much needed in our space here. So, guys and girls, if you want to be on our episode, please reach out to us at SVIP. Follow us on LinkedIn at SVIP. And this episode will be released on all major streaming platforms: Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon. The list goes on. You guys stay safe out there. We'll catch you guys on the next one.